Sixth grade Excel, lesson 115. This is a fiver. This is a long one. This is a tricky one, so I hope you really pay attention. This is going to be hard, but thank goodness we have a studio audience here with us today to help us to make sense of this a very hard lesson. We're learning about identifying the equation that represents a line on a coordinate graph and learning slope and Y-intercept. Woo! This is a tough one, okay? This equation has two unknowns, x and y. Two numbers that are missing. Okay, even if you do not know the value for each letter, there is a relationship between them. What is the value of y if there's a relationship between these two? If x is 0, then y is 3, because 3 plus 0 is equal to 3. If x is 1, then y is 4, because 3 plus 1 is 4. What I'm doing here is I'm making coordinate points on a graph. Do you see that? That when I plug in a 0 for x, here's the x number in a coordinate graph, the y comes out to be 3. You with me?
Yeah.
If the x is 1, the y comes out to be 4.
Yeah.
So I could plot these points on a graph. If the x is 2 in this equation, then the y is 5. 2, 5 is another point on this. This is actually a line. This equation ends up being a line on a graph. If x is 3, then y is what?
6.
6. I shouldn't have been underlining that. So 3, 6 would be our next point. If x is 4, then y is?
7.
Because 3 plus 4 is 7. 4, 7 would be our points. What if x was 20? What would y be? 23. You see, you just add 3 to the x every time. So if you understand that part clearly, great. Let's keep moving on. If not, go back and watch it again. Given the equation y equals 3 plus x, and using the information from numbers 1 to 5 that we just saw, we can identify the coordinate pair for each value of x and graph the line represented by this equation. So, here were all the things that we just did on the other page. You guys with me? So we found that there are these points on this graph. And here they plotted them. 0, 3. Remember, we go over 0, up 3. That's that spot right there. This one is at 1, 4. This is the second one. The next one is at 2, 5. 2, 5 right there. 3, 6, 4, 7. Now, do you notice that these points all make a line?
And they keep on going.
And they're going to keep going. So the next one's going to be here, the next one's going to be there. It's going to keep going forever. And it also can go the other direction forever. And just a little while ago, we learned about the 4-coordinate graph with the negative numbers in these spots over here. Remember that? This is quadrant 1, this is quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. A little review for you of the 4-coordinate graph. Or quadrant graph, excuse me. Lines extend infinitely in each direction. We just said that, right?
Yeah.
Unless a line is parallel with either the x or y axis, it will cross both of them. What that means is, here's the 4-quadrant graph. I keep saying that. There's a 4-quadrant graph, okay? Unless this line, let me use a different color here so you can see what I'm talking about more clearly. Let's use green. Unless the line is parallel to the x or parallel to the y, unless it's one of those, it's going to cross both of them. No matter how I do it, it's going to end up crossing both of these. Crosses this one and crosses this one. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Eventually it's going to cross both of them, unless it's parallel to it. All right. So once again, here's our 4-quadrant graph. Remember, this is my x and this is my y. The only lines that are not going to cross both of them are the lines that are going to go parallel, perfectly straight up and down this way, or side to side. That's the only ones. Anything that's angled at all is going to end up crossing both spots. both the x and the y. Okay. If it is parallel to x, it is called horizontal and has no slope. A line that goes this way has a slope, what we call a slope, kind of like on a hill, of 0.
Oh, okay.
There's no slope to it. Okay? If it is parallel to the y, if it goes this way,
A slope or something?
okay, other.
Oh yeah, no it doesn't equal 0 because it equals something else.
It is vertical. Goes up and down, right? Otherwise, it slopes up or down relative to the horizontal axis. So otherwise, it's going to slope either up or down. It's going to slope one way or the other. It's not going to be vertical or horizontal. Kind of like what you guys learned a while ago about vertical lines, horizontal lines, and oblique lines. Remember that? That's basically what we're saying here. The line we just plotted rises as it moves to the right. So the one we saw here before, it rises up to the right. Okay? Told you, this is kind of tricky. For each increase of 1 unit on x, it increases 1 unit on y. So what we're saying is, let's go back and look at this. For every time it moves over 1, it goes up 1. Let me erase all this stuff so you can see it better. Okay, come on, you guys got to get this. Ready? For every move of 1 on the x, there's 1 on the y.
Oh,
Do you see that?
yeah. Is it kind
Every
of like a
1,
pattern?
1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Now you could have a line that goes like this. Just want you to understand the difference. That would be 1 for x and 2 for y to get to the next point. 1 for x, 2 for y to get to the next point. It doesn't necessarily have to be just like this. Okay? That's called the slope of the line. It crosses the y-axis at 3. Let's go back and look at that again. Crosses the y-axis at 3. Here's the y-axis, right? Look where it crosses, right there. Right at 3. Okay, that is called the Y-intercept. Because it crosses the y at 3. The y-intercept for this is equal to 3. You guys have watched a little football? Super Bowl just happened, right?
Yep.
Did you see any interceptions in the Super Bowl?
I think so.
That's where the other team catches the ball.
Yeah.
They get in the way of the guy that's supposed to be catching it, and they catch it instead. Number 3 gets in the way of the line as it's moving down here and catches the line. It's the Y-intercept. It's like intercepting the line right at Y. Okay. Can you determine where it crosses the x-axis and how? Yeah, let's go back to this. Can we figure out where it's going to cross
You have to use
x?
the 4-quadrant grid.
Right, it's going to be over here. But think about this. If it's changing 1 every time, it's going to come down to here, right? And then it's going to be over 2. And then when it gets down to here, it's going to be over what?
3.
3. So it's going to cross at negative 3. 3 positive 3s over here. It's going to cross the x-axis at negative 3. All right. The slope, that's called m, for some reason they like to call it m, of a line is defined like this. M is equal to change of y value over the change in x value. So on that last line that we just saw, it changed 1 for every, this is the change in x. Remember it went over 1? And then it changed how far on the y? 1, right? It went 1, 1 to get to the next dot. And then it went 1, 1 to get to the next dot, right? So the slope of the line is 1 over 1. What's 1 over 1 equal to?
1.
1. The slope of that line is equal to positive 1. Okay, because we do the, actually this is supposed to be y. This is y, the change in y over the change in x. Once you know the slope of a line, you can plot it on a grid, but slope alone will not tell you where to place the line. Two lines can have the same slope and sit in different positions on the grid. You need a reference point to plot its location. In other words, let's go back and look at this. What they're saying is, I could have a line that's sloped just like this, except it could be right here, or down here. It doesn't have to be right here. The reason it's right here is because of the y-intercept. What's the y-intercept? 3. Do you see it?
Yeah.
It's got the 3 right there. That's where it's going to cross the line. Whatever that number is where it's going to cross the line. Okay. The value of y where a line crosses the y-axis is called the y-intercept. I just told you that. With slope m and the intercept labeled b, we can define any line with an equation. Others can use that equation to draw the same line. The formula we use for a linear equation is y equals mx plus b. What we're saying is this number right here, whatever is before the x, is the slope. This number right here is the y-intercept. You guys lost?
No.
Come on, you can get it. This is the slope, whatever number's before the x. If there is no number there, it's automatically 1, because 1 times x equals x. Whatever number is here is where it crosses the y-axis of any equation. Okay, so let's take y equals 1/2 x minus 4. The slope of that line is 1/2. The y-intercept is -4. That's all they're telling you right there, okay? Which equation represents the line shown on the graph? Substitute values for x found on the line and see which equation is true. For the first problem, assume slope m equals 1. So here's a line on that they're saying which one of these is that line. The easiest way to solve these is just start plugging in some numbers. Okay, so let's take and put a 1 in here for this one. 1 times 1 is?
1.
And 1 plus 1 is?
2.
So when x is 1, y is 2. You get it?
Uh-huh.
Okay, let's plug in a 2. 1 times 2 plus 1?
3.
That could be 2, 3. 1, 2, 2, 3. Let's plug in a 3. 3 times 1 is? Plus 1?
4.
3, 4. Okay, are these points on that line? 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4. Look at, they're all on that line. So this equation, that's why they have it circled, works for this. Let's see why these do not work. Let's plug a 1 in for this. 1 times 1 is?
2. 1.
1 minus 2,
-1.
-1. Okay, is 1 -1 on that line?
No.
No. So this equation is not that line. Let's try this one. 1 times 1 is?
1.
Minus 1?
-.
1 minus 1? 0. Is 1 0 on that line?
No.
So that one doesn't work. Okay, the y-intercept for this is 1. Notice because, look, the y-intercept right there is 1. Okay, so on this one, you want to pick which equation works for that line. Pause the video, turn it back on when you're ready to see the solution. Okay, let's try this. Here we go. Plug in any number for x. Give me a number.
1.
1.
2.
1 plus 2 is?
2. 3.
3. Is 1 3
No.
on that line? No. So that can't be it. Let's plug 1 in here. 1, 5, right? Is 1 5 on that line?
No.
No. So that can't be it. Let's plug 1 in here. 2 times 1 is?
2.
Plus 0?
0.
2 plus 0? 2. Is 1 2 on that line?
Yes.
Yes. This is the correct equation. Alrighty. Thanks for watching.